I missed my flight by 7 minutes. 7 minutes that ruined my plans and changed my life. I was standing in the airport staring at the departure board. The gate was closed. The plane was gone. My phone buzzed with angry messages from my business partners. The air smelled like coffee and stress. I felt defeated. That is when I saw her. She was sitting near the exit doors. A young woman. Beautiful in a tired, fragile way. Dark hair tangled by the wind. A baby wrapped in a thin blanket pressed against her chest. The baby was quiet. Too quiet. She was not asking for money. Not begging. Just sitting there like the world had already decided her fate. I do not know why I stopped. Maybe because missing that flight already made me feel like a failure. Maybe because she looked like someone life had broken too many times. I said hello. She looked up slowly. Her eyes were sharp, but exhausted. I asked her if she was okay. She hesitated, then shook her head. She said, "I just need time, that is all." The baby stirred and whimpered. She rocked him gently. Her hands were steady, but her lips trembled. I asked where she was going. She smiled sadly and said, "Anywhere warm." I told her I had a beach house. I said it without thinking, a place I barely used, white walls, ocean wind, quiet nights. I said, "I will be gone for 3 months. You can stay there. No rent. Just take care of the place." She stared at me like I was joking. She said, "Why would you do that for me?" I said, "Because I missed my flight, and today feels strange, and because you look like you need a door to open." She started crying. Silent tears. The kind that hurt more than loud sobs. She said, "I will be gone before you come back. I promise." I gave her the keys. That should have been the end of it. But it was only the beginning. My negotiations turned ugly. One delay became another. 3 months turned into 6. Every few weeks I thought about that woman. I wondered if she left, if the house was empty, if the ocean helped her heal. I told myself I did a good thing. 6 months later, I finally drove back to the beach. The sky was grey, the waves were rough, the air felt heavy. As I pulled into the driveway, my stomach dropped. The house lights were on. Music was playing. Not soft music, loud music. I stepped out of the car slowly. My hands were shaking. The front door was open. Inside, the house was unrecognizable. New furniture, expensive art on the walls, the smell of fresh paint, laughter echoing from the living room. I walked in and froze. There were people everywhere, well-dressed, drinking wine, smiling. And there she was, the homeless woman. She was wearing a silk dress, her hair perfectly styled, diamond earrings catching the light. The baby was gone. She saw me and smiled. She said, "You are back." My throat went dry. I asked, "What is this?" She walked toward me calmly. She said, "A celebration." I said, "Where is the baby?" Her smile faded for half a second. She said, "Safe." I felt rage boiling in my chest. I said, "You lied to me? You stole from me?" The room went silent. She raised her hand and everyone stopped talking. She looked at me and said, "Sit down." Please, I wanted to scream. Instead, I sat. She poured herself a drink. She said, "You gave me keys, not rules." I stood up. I said, "This is my house." She nodded. She said, "I know, and that is why I am here." She snapped her fingers. A man stepped forward. Tall, familiar. My blood ran cold. It was my former business partner. The one who ruined my first company. The one who vanished with millions. She said, "You recognize him?" I could barely speak. She said, "Good. Then this will be easier." The guests quietly left, one by one, until it was just the three of us. The ocean roared outside. She looked at me with eyes no longer tired. She said, "My name is Elena, and 6 months ago you met me at the airport." I said, "You used me." She shook her head. She said, "No, you chose." She sat across from me. She said, "That baby was my son. He died 2 weeks before we met." The room felt like it collapsed. She said I was broken, lost. Looking for a reason not to disappear, I whispered, "I am sorry." She nodded. She said, "Your kindness saved me." but it also revealed who you are connected to. She pointed at my former partner. She said, he ruined your life, and he ruined mine. My heart started pounding. She said he stole everything from my family, my home, my future. I looked at him. He avoided my eyes. She said, when I stayed here, I learned, I watched, I listened. She smiled coldly. She said, this house, your generosity. It gave me time to plan. I said, plan what? She leaned closer. She said, revenge. She revealed everything. The parties were traps. The guests were investors. The art was evidence. The house was wired with cameras. She had built a case. Against him. Against others. She said, tomorrow the police come. The press too. My former partner fell to his knees. He begged. She did not look at him. She looked at me. She said, you gave me shelter, so I gave you truth. She handed me a folder. Inside were documents, proof that he had framed me years ago, proof that cleared my name. She said, your life was stolen just like mine, I asked. Why tell me now? She said, because revenge without justice is empty and kindness deserves to be returned. The police arrived the next morning. He was arrested. The story went public. My name was cleared. The house was mine again. Elena left quietly. No note, no goodbye. Weeks later, I received a package. Inside was a photo, her standing by the ocean, a small urn in her hands. On the back, she wrote, thank you for the door. I stood on that same porch staring at the waves, thinking about 7 minutes. 7 minutes that made me miss a flight and meet a stranger and learn that sometimes the people who look broken are just rebuilding. I missed my flight and gave away my house, but what I really gave away was my fear, and what I got back was my life.